Hey everybody, I'm waking up Mubot in the background. Mubot, wake up! What are you doing, Mubot? Falling asleep on the job right here, Mubot. We can't have that. Got a question, start out. Mohammed's got a question. Alan's got a question. Alan's wondering about, hey, everyone knowing everybody. Good to see you. I couldn't tag you, Mohammed, because sometimes, like, if someone comes in the chat before I'm here, I can't tag their name, which is a bummer. That's a bummer. Mubot, we need to fix your macros, Mubot, so you can give out points. Will it work now? Okay, it works when I click that. 5 points. Let's click that, and then let's click that right here. I had them set up yesterday, Alan, and then I had to redo my hotkeys and stuff. We'll hop in here to the questions. First question is about taking and finding certain elements like a filter in Excel. So let me see if this is what you're looking for. Hop into the main screen. So if we have, let's say, I'm trying to think of some really crazy data right here. Do I have S11 loaded in or S17? Let me think of a data set that has a lot of values. Andrew, good to see you. You got a new picture and everything, Andrew. What's up, Andrew? So good to see you here. Do I have S17? I've got crazier surveys which have more responses. S17's LCSV. That doesn't exist. 16? No, none of these exist. 14? I thought I had a survey called that. I don't got surveys called that. Let me go to a survey. I want a survey with a lot of levels. So I want something with a lot of levels right here. Factor, which one is a lot of factors right here? 4 levels. Okay, well, yeah, this is kind of what we're talking about right here. Let's go to the education data set right here and talk about, and then we got Mohammed's question next. We've got here the education data set. The education data set is in a reg class. So if you want to work with this and kind of see how it works on your own, you'd want to go here to reg class, load up the education data set. Make sure you have reg class installed. Oh yeah, it's mini-me in my class got canceled today. Oh, cool. Good to see you here, Andrew. Class canceled. We like that. I mean, I'm not going to cancel class. Oh, we have 1 million views. We got to the 1 million views. It might not be showing it maybe on Social Blade or something. So if you're checking out Social Blade, tell me how we're doing. We passed the 1 million views over the lifetime, but maybe they took away some of our views. YouTube will do that sometimes. Maybe we're back below. We can have another 1 million celebration. So the question becomes, what if we only are interested in certain values of this categorical variable like pet right here? So we get a table right here, but the table is a named table. So we can actually go to cat and we can filter it. So we could go to multiple values right here and go to like cat, comma, dog, and we should get both of those values. Is this what you're looking for right here, Alan? I'll drop it in the chat. But if you go to a vector, you could only receive those values. Ahood, good to see you, Ahood. So is this kind of what you're looking for? I was trying to think through. So if you have a vector with a lot of different values, you could filter through. If we only want the people who are cat, dog, people, we could go here to a subset, and we could go to subset. And this kind of goes to Mohammed's question. This is harder than this. Okay, and then so here, specify, you're saying you have a big vector, right? And you want to, because we could make a Shiny app or something like that. Shiny apps. So each value has a number with it. Like, can you tell me, like, I mean, I know you can't send data and stuff. Can you tell me how the data is like organized? Like, oh, you're saying so each, but then it would just be numeric, right? So is it like a data frame that looks like this person? Because then we want to extract these information like the GPA of pet people. So it's inside of a data frame. So are you saying like we've got people right here where we've got like what kind of animal they have. And then we've got right here like their weight. It has something like human resource provision and human. Okay. So and then what do you want to extract? So you can still just use that. If it has that sort of name, you can still just only grab those elements by calling them from the table. So each value, but do you want to grab it by the number? So do you want to then use that number right here? You could use string search. So there's a string search. So if those are strings right now or factors, just depending on how you're handling them. So are you saying you then want to only return those things right there? Like, do you want to know how many times it occurs? And only, like, I'm trying to think of the end output you're looking for. So you're saying this variable right here has all these different, like if you can look at it, it's going to have all these different things right here with some sort of code to it and then some sort of classifier at the end of it. So you just got a variable right here. And then what's the end goal then? So like I'm seeing right here, I'm looking at your variable. It's got whatever like department or whatever this is. And it's got like 8484 middle management department, 4844 lower division department, 4894, and so you've got a whole bunch right here. So what is then the end goal of this? We could kind of create a fake thing right here Let's go here. The education data set. We're going to create a fake variable right here, and we're going to kind of create this. And then we'll go to the percent and percent, which is kind of related. I was stuck on number 5. You bet, Trace. We'll do that next here. We're going to do Mohammed's question next, then Trace's question. Let's go here to department. We're just going to call this department for the time being. And department is going to be a concatenated vector of rep 100 times department A. And it doesn't matter what the name is called. It could be any longer name. It's just a placeholder. And then we're going to... We're inside of something we don't want to be inside of. The rep. I don't want it doing that. Is it really going to do that? We should be inside of the... Oh, we want to be inside the concatenate. This. We left the concatenate right here. And so let me see. There we go. Here we are. I think this just has it. Okay, good. That is right. And then we want to rep this right here. Wondering about the same thing? Awesome. We'll take a look at that. We'll do Mohammed's. Okay. So this will be B, C. I don't know my letters. D. Oh my gosh. E, F, G, and this will be 7. Okay, so we have different departments in here now. Let's append it to the education data frame. And there we go. Okay, so on the education data frame, I have different departments right now. We'll just mix it up. Is it doing where it doesn't show all of them? 6 entry, 18 columns. So it's not showing all the columns. Let's zoom over to those columns. I hate how it... Why is it not showing all my columns? Showing 1 through 8. Did I not just append it? Oh, what did it get mad about? 2 seconds here. NA is introduced by conversion. Oh my gosh. What did I do? What did I do? Let's make sure this runs. Oh my. Concatenate. Oh, yeah. 2 seconds here, everybody. Brian's brain broke. Oh, really? Really? Ah! Okay. Sorry. Rep. My brain reversed it. Rep, it's what you want to rep, and then it is how many times you're repeating it. So, Alan, what exactly do you want from this again? So it's what you want to rep. And I'm just creating a department variable. That got it. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll just mix this up right here. So now we have just randomized departments that things are in. Does that make sense? Is this looking more similar? So what's the end goal right here? So we've just created, if you look at this, is a pretty decent thing to understand, especially for all of our classes. Put this over here for the time being. We're looking at, we've created random departments. So it's not really random, but if we look at the data frame and we sort it, it kind of looks a little bit random right now. So we've just got random departments right here. And then what do you want from this? Probably subsetting is what I'm thinking you're thinking about. Because now you're saying, let's see if Alan's still here. So now we have kind of a department variable right here, which is all different departments. And then are you looking to only find out information about like one department? Because this kind of goes to Mohammed's question about how could we use the percent, percent percent, or the equals. When we're doing subsetting right here, and then we'll do trace and something like this, yes. So probably you want to go to a subset, because if you only want certain departments, we're going to go here to subset, and we're going to go to whatever data frame we're using, and then we're going to go to the conditions inside of here. And this goes to Mohammed's questions. If we have here that we're doing on a certain department, if we're just doing one department, usually we want to do equals. And this is most often used when we're just checking for one thing. So this subset right here, let's just call it, I'm going to call it E sub or E1 sub. That way it'll appear before it, and we can see the smaller size. If you notice right here, it's 100 right here. Actually, I need all departments. So, and then what do you might want to do aggregate. If you want here to go to aggregate would allow us to look at a certain variable over. So if I want to go here to like maybe the mean, I want to go to people's heights by department, the aggregate function is going to allow me to go right here, and I need to put in my data frame, data equals education, and the aggregate function is going to take fun equals and then mean. There we go. Fun is missing. It's capital Fun. And now we can get the mean for every department right here. So the aggregate function is really powerful in this sense that if you need all the departments and you want to do like the mean by department, rather than subsetting each by department, the aggregate function would allow you to say, this is the y variable of interest, this is the function we're doing on it, and then we can aggregate and get this information for each department right here. We could turn these into lists and start applying, and dplyr can be used also here. Is that making sense? And to Mohammed's question, if we want to find multiple departments, we're actually asking, is the department contained in the vector A, B? Is it contained in the vector AB? So now the way this is read, is the department we're looking for contained over here? So we'll actually get 200 departments right here because we're asking, is it contained over here, A or B? But if you use equals equals, which you don't want to do right here, it'll say, is the first department equal to A? Is the second department equal to B? Is the third department equal to A? Is the fourth department equal to B? And I don't know how many we'll get. We'll get 100 just because the way I ordered it. But you're not doing it correctly right here. It's checking, is the first equal to A? Is the second equal to B? Is the third equal to A? Is the fourth equal to B? It makes sense. It's just that there's 5 million data points and so many factors. Yeah. And if you have low-level factors, then you might want to combine things, or you might only want to look at the top ones. Run an aggregate on it and see what you get. And then you could make means and estimates, whatever you're looking for. But aggregate might be your best friend right here. And here's the aggregate code in the chat. So hopefully, Mohammed, is this making more sense about the % I in % or the equals equals? Equals equals does a logical check. % I in % makes sure, sees that something is contained on the other side. Is what's on the left contained over on the right is % I in %. Equals equals goes through a one-by-one logical check. It also moves the elements across as it goes through, where % I in % says, this thing on the left, is it over here on the right? Great job, Mohammed. Let's hop back. Let's do number 5, 474. Here we go. Space time. Really great questions. Love when people are using what we teach them. Alan, have you been using much of 474, 320? Have you been using those courses, using that knowledge? I think you just took 474, right? I wasn't teaching it, though, which is all right. It was all right. When do we use %? That's modulo. So what is 8%? I did $sign. What is 8% 3? See if you can solve that. They actually just let me start coding. That's awesome. Think about it in the chat. What is 8% 3? And you're asking, what is, when you divide 8 by 3, what's the remainder? The question to that is, when you divide 8 by 3, what is the remainder? That is the question I put in the chat. So just think about it mathematically. If you divide 8 by 3, what is the remainder of 8 divided by 3? We got some number 5 we're going to do in here a second. Get the assignment loaded down. When you divide 8 by 3, what is the remainder? As in, what does not go into it completely? That is what remainders are. Remainders are when you divide this by this, what does not go in completely. And we are doing conditionals. Homework downloading. And the homework is downloading. Did it download? What's it doing? It's being weird. Okay, we're pulling up the homework right here. Homework is up. And does the chat get the answer? It is 2. With the task, yeah, a lot of tasks. It's pretty crazy. I'm gonna hit the button for the macro. Points. I can add points. Okay, let's head over to the main screen right here and take a look. I can't see myself. Now I can. And here we go. Let's head back to the main screen. This is Future Brian number 5. Let's take a look at what it was again. Number 5 right here. 1 hour. We got this, Trace. Let's take a look. Number 5. Oh my gosh, all those untitled chunks. Number 5. We created a matrix called X for you. Write a nested for loop that finds the position of 0 in each column of X. So when you look at this matrix right here, what if we were to take a data frame, which is also a kind of matrix? This matrix right here, we need to write 2 for loops. 2 for loops. So if you look at this right here, we've got a matrix, and we'll print out the positions right here. So what if I were to say, I want to find the positions in a data frame, which is like a matrix. This is very similar stuff. Lots of hints given down here on how to do this. If I were to say I take a data frame, like the education data frame, very similar, And I want to find everything in this data frame, the position of it, where something is equal to 2. Does that make sense? You see some 2s in here. Another 2. I'm going to find some 2s. Or 0. So does this make sense? I can go through here. Isn't it a for in a while? I wouldn't use a while loop. A while loop finds positions. You could. Iterates of the columns. A while loop to find the positions of the zeros in the columns. You could. We could try doing it that way. So let me double check. We created a matrix X right off the loop that finds the position of the 0 in each column. Oh yeah, so what we're doing right here, which is totally fine, is we're stopping it or we're trying to look while we don't have a 0. So when you think about this, the way, you know what, I'm going to go a little more specific on this one because it's so specific. So we're trying to find that position of a 0. So the important thing to code first here is the while loop. The important thing to code first here is the while loop. So when you think about this right here, the while loop, we want to work with one vector right here. Let's code just the while loop on this one and get just the while loop working. So when you do this right here, where is this currently stored? Where is x1 currently stored? I'd like for someone to print to the screen x1 right now. This is not x1, but I'd like for someone to print to the screen x1, and the screen has a hint. How can we get that x1? And then we're going to work the while loop on this. And I'll write the while loop for this one, but I won't write the rest of it. So I'll get the while loop done for this. So where's the x1, which is right here? I want this. You can see it right there. How can I make this display without calling x1? Where is x1 currently? And there's a hint on the screen. And then here. How can I get x1 to display? This kind of goes to the for loop portion a little bit too. So how can I get x1 to display on the screen without calling x1? Where is it currently? Because then we'll have to change which one we're working on because we need to do this for all 3 of them. Where is x1 currently stored in the matrix? In the matrix. In the matrix. Where is x1 currently stored? I think it's 2-dimensional. The answer is right here. So how can I call x1 without calling x1? I don't want to call x1 because I can't change that right there. There might be a way, but I don't know it. Great job, Aaron, right there. Great job. 20 points in the chat. Aaron, you are correct. It is x comma 1 with the square brackets, allowing us to call this right here. So we're just going to call, we don't want to call the first position yet. We want to call just x1, and we can see here we get the column. Ooh, what's it mad about? What did I do? Oh, it's lowercase. When we do want to go to the first value, So right here, write a nested for loop that prints out the position of the 0. So what we want to do is we want to have something here to check what the position of the 0 is. And let's go right here to J, sometimes our first or second placeholder. And let's just check the first one right here. And let's run this and find out what it is. And notice what I'm doing is I'm just finding out what's in this position. And think about what we're doing right here. We're trying to see if this is equal to what? Our whole goal right here is to do what? Our whole goal right here is to do what? Our whole goal right here is to do what? Just find what? You think about when I'll continue running this. Here, I'll act like I'm the while loop. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. Print out the position. So I would stop right here and print out J. So that's the logic behind what we're doing. So I, as the while loop, went, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, we stop because we found the 0, and now we'll print J. So we're trying to find the value of 0. So when does the while loop keep going? When does the while loop keep iterating here? When does Brian, as the while loop, keep going through and keep continuing down this cycle of running and iterating through further? When do I keep going? Because that's the condition that we'll use to keep the loop going. And then we'll see if it works just on one of these. And then we're basically done. It's like, wait, that's it. I don't want to solve the for loop part of it. Putting the for loop, just think about what it has to iterate through. Just do it in little bits. What's the condition right here? So if you look at what I have right here, remember we're trying to find, we'll continue running if something is a certain way. Brian looked at this right here and evaluated this in his head and said, continue running. Brian looked at this and said, continue running. This returned false for continue running in Brian's head, so Brian stopped running the code. So we're trying to see if whatever is in here is what. Brian looks at this and sees if it is what to continue running. Little portion of code after this. What was Brian evaluating when he looked at this? Because we can actually see what this is creating and do the logic in our head to continue running. Not equals 0. Great job, Aaron, right there. We're seeing if it's not equal to 0. So this is where we return false right here, and we did it. So we can say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to let the while loop do it. And let's put the condition inside of there. And so this is going to be our placeholder for j at the start. And we go right here and let it increase j for us. So now this is going to increase j. And we get j equal to 3. So if we say equals equal to 0, then it'll only run when it is 0. If we say not equal to 0, then if it's not equal to 0, it'll run. So always what the true condition is. Like if it returns true, it runs. So when it is not equal to 0, it runs. And this will set j, and this is a large part of the question. Really, we're so close to being done right here because we just have to do this 3 times, which is the beauty of the for loop. This is a major, major part. This is like a skeleton, if you get what I'm saying. But there needs to be another placeholder right here, and maybe it's kind of the idea of changing the column space. But who here maybe has used this or worked on this while we're doing this and can just drop this in because this is really close to what we need to do? Like here, maybe like 2 hours later. Ready? Time this. Put a little Hackerman music. You ready? Here we go. Start the clock. And we're almost done. Oh, nope. Breaking my code. Yep, wait. Yep. That's it. I don't think I have the answer on the screen, but I did it. It's working. I fumbled more than I should have. I typed a wrong thing, and I was like, no, wait. But we get the output right here. Maybe. remove that part, Trace. Maybe. I want people to think about the last part. The logic behind this is very important. Like, if you know Mohammed and Trace, hit retract message. You're right. I want people to think about this last part. You have to get stuck a little bit. You have to get stuck because really this is walking someone right up to it. And if you know the logic, you get it. So if you know the logic, you're like, so just make sure to remove that real quick, Mohammed, and be like, yes, thank you so much, both of you. 50 points right there. I appreciate that so much. I want people, like, maybe it's right. Hey, here's the great thing. If you got the output, you did it correct. But I want to walk someone up to the answer and be like, do you see it? This would be like a 6 or 7. It's a nested, so it's towards the end. It's a nested, so I would consider this more difficult. I'm gonna delete off my code right here. It's a nested, so I would consider it more difficult. I want people to think over that last part about the for loop. So that last part on the for loop right there is kind of like, okay, now I want this to iterate over multiple columns. So if you're wondering what we did, we iterated it over multiple columns, and then we had the for loop moving through the columns for us. So we have to put this inside of a for loop that will then use a placeholder for the column space. And for those who have coded this, you're like, Brian, you're telling them how to do it. Yes, I am. We need a placeholder for the column space. So this needs to be a placeholder now. Could be just anything I. And then we need to loop over the length of the columns, which there's 3, so you can hard code 3. Probably better to put ncol in that. So for those, I think Mohammed did that. And then you can use whatever you want, like Q. Doesn't matter, as long as you use the same placeholder. And then it'll change what that is through the columns. And this is just your skeleton right here. So Trace, Mohammed, how much do you feel better about this? And once you see it, you might be like, oh, it makes sense. And so great job getting stuck right there, because you have to get stuck. Then you have to be like, where am I stuck? And then when you saw how to do this skeleton today, you're like, okay, for loop part of it, boom, got it. Drop it in the for loop, loop over the columns, done. Yeah. Great job. Excellent work. You're doing exactly what you should be doing by getting stuck. I can't tell you how many times I got stuck. You should have seen me first semester. I was trying to code in front of students. I feel bad when I get stuck or my code doesn't work nowadays for like a half second. I think I could figure it out easier a lot now. That's awesome. It's practicing the logic. You have to get the logic down. You have to understand why your loop's breaking. You have to just break loops. You have to have them not work. I used to be so just like, oh my gosh, students are gonna be like, he doesn't know how to code. And now students are like, how do you code so fast? And every time I make a mistake, I just like put the wrong object inside of something and it doesn't run. Yes, I was beating myself so much up yesterday. What is the best way to stay for loops and while loops for coding nights? Just write as many as you can. If you find examples online doing data camp or whatever space while we talk about this. Coding night really is the culmination of all your work. Coding night is 100% your practice. Feel free, it's open floor on questions right now. But coding night is 100% how much have you practiced. Yeah, as Alan puts it right there, practice, 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 practice. There's no way... Now, I don't mean this bad. I don't mean to freak anyone out. If you feel like you're really bad at coding, wondering about number 3? Yeah, let's do some number 3 in a second. Which is number 3 multi-part or is it one part? Number 3 in a moment. Talk about it and help out with it. Question 3? Yeah, matrix stuff. Cool, nested again. So we'll talk about the basics of that. But the best way to practice for coding night right now is just sit down a little bit right now and just go over it. So we got question 3 in Q4B. Let's do it. So yeah, so please practice. Even if you don't do well on coding night, just keep practicing. One of the best things a student ever said to me is one day I woke up and it just all clicked. It's like speaking a foreign language. My cousin told me that. She said, I was in Mexico and one day I woke up and it was like I could hear what everyone was saying. So away it goes. One day it just starts to click. Number 3, homework 4, manipulating the matrix. Let's do it. Oh, we just did number 5 right there, Lillian. Check it out. We just went over number 5. So number 5, we just did it. So feel free to ask more questions if you have it. We just did it. So last segment, you'll know if you look back on the video. Let's go check out some number 3. Here we go. This is number 3 on 474. Matrix. So this makes a matrix right here with 100 rows and 100 columns. And we're going to go through here and nest a for loop. So a for loop inside of a for loop. And we have right here just returns 4. So when you look at this, oh, no worries, Lillian. Thank you for asking. I'm getting random phone calls from random numbers. Gotta love that. Someone calls Lillian. 50 points. Shout out to Lillian right here. And thank you for asking. You wouldn't know if you hadn't asked. So 50 points. Thank you for asking. Matrix right here. We've created a matrix. Let's look at the object. Always look at what you create. It's just gonna be a bunch of zeros. Amazing. So there we go, a bunch of zeros. But we want to find out, you know, if we're in position 3, then row 3, column 7, we want to find out 4. So if you think about this, how can we do this? Well, when you look at two numbers, we should be able to take the absolute value of the difference between them. So we really just want to take 3 minus 7 and take the absolute value of it. And we can kind of do some stuff like that. Let's go here. 3 minus 7. So 3 minus 7. Cool. But no, that's not what we want. I want to go here and absolute value of this. You got to put your numbers on the do not call list. I did this. Oh, wait, what? That really works? Andrew, are you serious? I would not think it'd be that easy. I should go do that. They will respect that. They will not call me then. So this is the absolute value of these two numbers. But we don't want 3 and 7. That's not going to change. What are we writing right now? Does anyone have any idea what Brian's trying to write right now by just going through 100%? Wow, I should try it. What is Brian trying to write right now? Please help me out and follow along. Brian's trying to write his what? Brian's trying to write his what right now that'll be what I'm going to put inside. Don't start by writing your for loop. Get it to work on one thing. If that's true, Andrew, that'd be amazing. I just don't know who they're going to call when I get calls about your car insurance has been lapsed. Please call such and such. State Farm's been trying to get a hold of me for years. Just kidding. Shout out to State Farm. They're like a good neighbor. How dare they put that in my head? So a skeleton, we're trying to make a skeleton right here. Don't start writing that for loop. Ghostbusters. You call Ghostbusters. They might not be able to help with this right here. You call the skeleton, you get your skeleton right here. And it's going to help out. So what we want to do is we want to look for the, what row are we in? So when we go to our matrix right here, we're really just going to the row. So let's go here to, is it row name? I think they got row names right now. Let me go look at that row names. I don't want to do it this way, I think. Trying to look at the row names of it. It's null. Yeah, we can't do that. My brain broke for a moment. Well, really, as you think about it, we don't even need to reference it because it's just going to go through. I've written over 100 lines of code so far. Nice job, Alan. Jake from State Farm. They replaced Jake. That's all right, though. Jake's okay with that. Both Jakes are okay with that. There's 2 Jakes from State Farm now. But right here, I'm just thinking about like how to answer it without answering the full thing. Because we're going to start with 1 minus 1. Does that make sense? Like we'll start with the absolute value of 1 minus 1, and then we need to go here and increase. And does anyone see what's going to happen right here? This is going to be a first part of my for loop. This is kind of the skeleton right here. Does this make sense right here? What will happen when I reach 100 and I get the absolute value of row 1 minus column 100, and I get the absolute value of that? What happens here is I go through and I go 1, and then I go 2, and we're basically writing the inner part of the for loop right now. What am I getting right here when I go to 100? What happens, or what should theoretically happen right here? Theoretically, when I get to 100, theoretically, what should happen? If you're thinking about the visual, visually speaking, I'm going through, and I'm going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, and then what happens next? Once I get through the first row, the 100 columns, as I iterate the values in it, and I use each one to find out the absolute value, I need to do what then? So then what do I need to do here now? Now that I've gone through the first row, and that was a for loop. So all of this right here was a for loop. That was a for loop. Now I do what? What changes? Now that I've gone through the first row completely, what changes? So I went first row, first column, first row, second column, first row, third column, first row, all the way up to the 100th column. I'm doing each one, getting each value right here, the absolute value of each one. And now I will do what? I will do what? And the answer is in pink right there. What do I do now? Go to the next row. That's where the outer for loop is going to come into play right here. And you're going to keep, great job right there, Aaron, excellent work. You're going to keep doing this until like, dot, 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 you get down to the 100th row. And then you would start here with the first column, and you'd go all the way here to the 100th, 100th. So if you look at how this works, this starts over here at the first row, first column, goes all the way through the column space, and then you iterate to the next row, and then you keep going down till you get to the 100th row. Like you go second row, first column, second column, you iterate through, then you switch rows, then you go down here, and these are the loops we're looking at right here. We're looking at one loop in yellow, the inner loop, which is going to go through all the columns, and then we're looking at another loop here in pink, which is going to go change the row space for us. So when you think about this theoretically, we'll need placeholders for both of these, hint, hint, hint. And what we want to do is we want to store this into M, and it has it right here for us, a little bit of the code of what's going on right here, and we need a comma. And right now, this value, if we think about it, would be stored right here. And guess what we've just written? Guess what we've just written? As you look at, we are changing values inside of here. We're writing to it. A lot of it printed on the screen. But guess what we've just written? Oh my gosh, so much on the screen. There it is right there. It has a difference of 0. Yay. Guess what we've just written right here? Who knows what we just wrote right here? Oh, I didn't change this position. Oops. It's like one shouldn't be there. What did we just change? What did we just write? So what did we just write? Which we can see that we have it right here. And we're changing the values. We wrote 0 into here and we wrote 1 into here. So you looked at the code I was running. This is our what? And I might leave it at this because that's a huge portion of it. Now just comes the theory on the for loop, which goes to we need 2 placeholders now. We need 2 placeholders. Trying to like bring people towards the answer, but let you have a jumping off from here. But do you see where we need the 2 for loops? One to go through the row space and one to go through the column space. And can you see the vectors they go through? The vector of the column space we will go through and the vector of values the row space will go through. The vector of the value the row space will go through, and the vector of the values the column space will go through. And then we need placeholders in place for these to change what is there. These are classic. Is it making sense, Trace? Is yours working now? You should get a big matrix. Should be a big matrix showing you'll see a diagonal of zeros. Once again, I want to show you how close you are to the answer if you're understanding this right here. Let's throw on a little music right here. So you should be really close to the answer right here. So I'm just working with what we currently have on the screen. I hate how this is commented out. I made it much harder on myself by... Okay, there we go. Cool. Okay. My little errors are destroying my time. Auto repeat code right here. Okay, almost there. Changing 2 more things. Ooh, it's mad about something. Oh, your code here. It's mad about that. I uncomment that out. Okay. That should do it. Move it down so you can't see it. Oh, it's no fun. Wait, what? Ooh, got an error, Did I not run the for loop? Mean store into absolute value of... Oh my gosh. I wish I could show you that error. I'll even show it. Wow. It works now. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this and show it. Okay, let me delete my code. That took way longer than it should to do because Brian made a ridiculous error. Okay. Let me go back. Do you see the error right here? And this is a big hint then. So it is working and I've got the answers on the screen for what they should be. Do you see the error? And this is a huge hint for the for loop. Like, I mean, that's a major component of it right there. Like, we've written 80% of the code for this one right now. Do you see the error? In it, I typed too quickly, just trying to speed through it. And the theory is incorrect right here. Does anyone see the issue of which I have with when I created what the value of j will go through? I just forgot one number, very important thing. And look, if you can, right in here. So that is where, yeah, I forgot the 1. So that created a lot of issues right there. That just totally wrecked the for loop, exactly. So it should go 1 through 100, and that wrecked it. Lots. Who has this problem completed now? Has anyone completed this problem? Working out, getting those answers right there, 1 through 100. Nice job right there, Mohammed. So make sure you have this. You can see the end of my for loop that ran right there and got the right answers, which is what we were talking about. We built the skeleton. Well, okay, yeah, that kind of gives away a little bit more. So if you're watching along, following along, you got it. Nice job right there. Woohoo! That's my goal, to kind of show you what's going on, to help out. Kent, you're on the right track. You got it. Yep, Aaron, excellent work. And this is the goal, is you work on it, you get stuck, and you just say, hey, Brian, help me out here. Walk me up. Show me what's going on right here. Show me what's going on. I'm going to finish it off, get it working, and then understand the theory of how it's working. And that's why we try to draw some things out. I think there was a question on number 4 next. Let's see right here. Homework 4. Q4B, Mohammed said. Q4B. Q4B. Question 4B. Write a for loop with break. We talked about break today in class. Good stuff for that. We need some breaks. That finds the position of the first negative number in X without iterating over all the elements in X. Okay. Let's go back here and work with the break function. Very important for the assignment. Excellent work. Good questions in class. So what does break do? It stops for loops and while loops. So the argument, or the code, it's not really an argument. The code break. If you go into here and write a for loop, kind of basics of break, and you say I equal to 1, you just set right here. We're not even going to use it. We're just going to say, Brian, we're not even going to use that I. We can go here 1 through 10. We'll store into here I. I plus 10 or 1, and it'll run every time. I is just going to increase. You can look at the value of I afterwards. We're not actually utilizing I in the for loop. It's just increasing I for us. So the value of I is 11 because each time the for loop runs, doesn't matter what this is, doesn't matter. That's just a placeholder that's not even being used. We could use it, but we're not going to do it in a moment. So the thing is with breaks right here is if we go to if, and ifs are important for breaks. If I is equal to 3, we're setting a condition, it'll run the code break. You have to use the squiggly bracket here to run code. So the squiggly bracket will run the break if I is equal to 3, and lo and behold, I is equal to 3. So this code knows to break the for loop. That's what it does. It says leave that for loop, game over, no more for loop when I is equal to 3 right here. So if you think about quick question, is there a similar function as levels for characters? Turn it into a factor. Turn it into a factor. Just wrap it into a factor. So go factor and then just take whatever your character vector is, like this right here. And then you can go right here and you could put it into a table. So if it's currently stored, you go right there and do that. So I would just turn it into a factor. I'd just be like, let me read it as a factor for the moment, and then you can manipulate it. It might not, and you can do a summary of it now too, but good quick question. I would just turn it into that. So if you're looking to treat it as this right here, and then you could also just go to levels of this. So now that you have it as this, you can look at the levels of it. But probably if it's a string right here, it's not going to give us the levels. It says null. So I would just throw it into a factor to turn it into a factor and look at the levels. If you're looking to get the levels of something that you're like, it's kind of categorical. Great questions right there. Alan, 20 points right there. I think just turning into a factor might help with it. I have 100 plus. You could do unique also. You could do unique. Unique should also do it. Unique would give you all the unique values. So if you go to unique, back to this question, sorry. If you go to unique, you get all the unique values. So unique might be even quicker. Unique's kind of a quick way of looking at all the unique values. So we know what the break function does. So the break function is going to stop our code. Let's say we want to, that finds the position of the first negative number. I want to find the first person who's over 250 pounds. Have we gone to number 3? I think did we just do number 3? I think we just did. Number 3 was just the last segment. Thank you, Taylor, for asking. We just did the nested for with the matrix, number 3, I believe. So I want to find similar question. Brian is working a similar question. Always make sure to pay attention and watch what's going on. Taylor, thank you so much. 20 points, Taylor, right there. I just hate for someone to like do this work and be like, I did what you did for this question and I didn't get any points. I'll be like, because I did something very different. So Brian wants to find position of the first person who weighs over 250 pounds in survey 10. I mean, what other survey are we going to use? It's just a survey we know pretty well. If you know how to manipulate one survey, you know how to manipulate others. So we're just going to find the first person who weighs over 250 pounds. So who do we need to evaluate first? Who do we need to evaluate first if we're going to look and see and find the position of the first person who weighs over 250 pounds? Very similar question. And just think of who do we need to evaluate first? Who do we need to evaluate first if we're going to look through each of the elements and see? Let's go look at those people. Who do we need to evaluate first on their weight? Who do we need to evaluate first? Who do we need to evaluate first? Those are not weights. We can probably find the answer to the question to confirm the answer. We're looking for over 250. Ooh, they're hard to find. Who do we need to evaluate first? And this is how our while loop's going to work because we'll need to evaluate a person first. So who do we need to evaluate first? It's kind of the answer to the question. Who do we need to evaluate first? Any ideas? We should really have someone who weighs over 250. Just going to see if we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, so we will find someone. Who do we need to evaluate first? Anyone? And how would we... I'm like, who do we evaluate? Awesome. Unique's a really nice function. Just getting the unique should work pretty well. I guess it works on strings? Because unique values are strings. You're welcome, Alan. Excellent work. Just the more you code, the more codes you remember. I forgot the stop function today in class. I was like, is it error? Is it? Couldn't think of it. We want to go and look at the first person. Now I can awesome. There's the first person. When will I keep searching? I want to find someone who's over 250. When will I keep searching? Like, tell me, Brian, no, you should keep searching. So I need to write a condition now for my while loop that is going to have me continue searching. This is a for loop. Yeah, we can use it for the for loop. So we want to go through the values of weight right here. Yeah, we'll use an if. I was going to do it with a while. And we want to say if this person's weight right here, if it is less than, or no, if it's greater than, let's do greater than. If this person's weight is greater than 250, then we will stop searching. Does that make sense right here? If this person's weight is greater than 250, we'll stop searching. So the answer to do I stop searching on person 1 is false. Don't stop searching. Well, what I need to do now is increase this person to 2, but I'm not going to have access to doing that. I need the loop to do that for me, so let's put a placeholder here. So I'm going to put I in place right here. And so with I can start I equal to 1, and now I can search. And, well, it didn't run break, but we're not really to have a loop for it to break, but that would be false. Now I can go to the next person and run this code right here on person 2, and we could keep increasing. If you notice, I is increasing, so I'm running this code right here. If you look right above me, I'm increasing I and searching the next person to see if I should stop my loop. So this loop is continuing on and checking out each person as we go to person 7, check them, person 8, check them, and we're just going right here. You might have a trace. Print keep searching else. Well, and then, oh, you could do that right there. That's great. Please tell me if you don't get full points. And then you could just print I at the end of this. So I think right here, oh, great, Trace did this one. Yeah, Trace, I think yours works perfectly. Because afterwards, we could go here to print I after the loop. You could put an else. I guess you could. Well, if it is this break, and you could have a keep searching print right here. Be a lot of printing. But right now, we want to go to our for loop. And in our for loop, we want to take the skeleton, which is going to be this, because that's going to increase our clock inside of here, just our counter. And we will this will only achieve, it's kind of like an else. You don't technically need the else because this code will run, this will break the code, and the only way to reach this is if this is false. Does that make sense theoretically here, Trace? I think this is it, but I could have done it in the YouTube. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's fine right there. You could throw that inside of an else, but if this returns back false right here, you will reach this. As soon as this reaches true, it will break. So when we go right here, our variable is I, and the vector, we could literally, I'm not going to do that. 1 through the number of rows of survey. We've got enough. Yeah. So now when we go to print I, and we can confirm our answer right here by going to survey 10 and checking out the weight of this individual. And the weight of the individual is 120. They are position 127, and their weight is 280, which confirms. And we could look to see if they are the first person who has a weight over 250, but we went through and we algorithmically found them by checking each individual and keeping the loop going until the condition that was true was met right here. As soon as we found someone who had a weight greater than 250, which is where we stopped on position I, we broke the loop and we stopped the iterative increase of the value of I. Does this make sense theoretically here? Because this is the theoretical answer, very, very similar to what you have to do in this question for the previous one. This is not the code for it, but the idea of setting an if condition right here that will break the loop. If you meet the condition, loop stops, and then you do have this value stored right here as I, and make sure to start. I didn't store I as 1 as the start. You probably want your I to start at the beginning. I was going to do something crazy right here. Since we are going through enough numbers, I could have done this, and it still works. I wouldn't suggest that. That's just bad coding to do that. But that's got it. What additional questions are there? That should explain that one. Was there another question people had questions on? Right here. Classic music. How can I use multiple columns with if else for 2b? Let's look at 2b. 2b or not. So we have right here, we're using the make, order, and the money. So with this one right here, let's go look at some 2B, hopping onto this 2B right here. So once again, Brian's doing a similar question. Let's say we want to go look at, let's go education data set. And with education data set, we want people who have a high school GPA that is greater than, let's say, 3.5 and an ACT that is greater than 30. So let's first write one condition right here. Education, high school GPA, greater than 3.5. There's our first condition. With the first condition written right here, we actually get a vector, and this is the input for an if-else. So we're not going to use this yet. Don't use it yet. We want to write our second condition here, which we have a multiple condition thing that we're going to put into an if-else. An if-else, one code. We're going to say, and we want these people, right here to have education. And we want them to have their ACT score. I think I said 30 or something. Sure. Now, greater than or equal to 30. Just making up our own question. So we're finding the people who have a high school GPA greater than 3.5 and an ACT score greater than or equal to 30. What we have right here is a logical vector, and let's call these top candidates or something. I usually like to take this and store it in something called logical, because this is what an if-else takes. So if we're looking for our top candidates right here, we need a logical vector right here. That's a logical vectors of trues and falses. This is what you must input into an if-else. It must be a logical vector. It could be of length 1, so you can use it like an if. But usually we think of it as a logical vector, like multiple logical values. And so now that we have created this logical statement, which make yours off the code above, we can input it in here, and then we can just put the yes statement. And let's put here top candidate. And let's put here pass on candidate. Or let's put here not top. And so these are our top candidates right here. And then we have it. We're just going to store this into X. That's my placeholder a lot of times. I'm going to go factor of X. And now guess what we can do? We can make a table of the factor of X. And there's our top candidates. So we used kind of a multiple condition thing right here where we set multiple logicals. Think about yours with what you're checking. Just do it step by step here. So the harder part is kind of building the logical statement. Does that make sense, Zaid, right there? The harder part is oftentimes building this logical. In our logical up here, we are building a logical statement when any of the make, order, or money columns has a value greater than 0. So we're trying to see if the value here is greater than 0, or the value here is greater than 0, or the value here is greater than 0. So that's kind of speaking through the logic on it. Like, is the value here greater than 0, or is the value here greater than 0, or is the value here greater than 0? So looking at these three columns, is this one greater than 0, or is this one greater than 0, or is this one greater than 0? And if any, since you're using ors, if any of them are greater than 0, that will return a true. Is there a way to count unique characters that occur in the data frame? This is so it'll tell me how many times a specific character occurs in the, like, are you talking like a D or an E or an F? Like how often a character occurs? Like are you wondering about Harold? So Zaid asked questions. If you have it, I'll answer Alan's question. Let me see. Is there any way to count unique characters that occur in a data frame? Like you're saying like people type words and then you want to see how often like a certain letter is used? I'm trying to think. It's always easier when don't worry, I know. It's like I'm trying to think theoretically here. Like when using the unique function. So let's go ahead and run the unique function right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the unique function. Let's go back to the main screen, look at that unique function. Here we go. So with the unique function, and these are strings right here. Yours might be strings right now. Let's just make it a string. Okay, so the department is currently a string. And so we're going to go here to unique education department. And here we are right here. So if you want to see how often these are used, I wouldn't do unique. Unique is nice for that. I'd go here to table. I don't think that's going to get what oh, it does. There we go. So I think, and so this is going to get you, like, you could make these longer. It's like, you know, B, blah, 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 blah. Now we make a table and we can see the occurrences. So the table should do that. So this will show us how often the whole phrase is used right now, turning it into a table. I'd probably turn it into a factor. Like I'd prefer this to be a factor. Like, is this what you're looking for right here? So a table should do it. Table should show all the unique values, and especially I'd probably sort my table then. Go around here because ours is looking a lot nicer. Like if I don't sort it and it looks a little different, because I need a certain length vector. Ooh, that's going to be breaking it. If I do a table here, it's not going to be sorted. So you might go and sort your table. Hey, do tables have native sorts? And then decreasing equals true. Once again, little bits. Little bits. Is this kind of what you're looking for right here? I'll drop this in the chat. So if you have a vector, that should just take it. Like all you're doing right here is vector x, whatever your vector is. Sort table decreasing equals true. That should do it right there. Is that making sense? Hopefully that's what you're looking for. But just taking the vector, sorting it, making a table will give you... I might throw it into a factor. Just I like the idea of working with factors better. What questions are there? Just chilling out here. You're welcome, Alan. Excellent work. It's just practice. It's all practice. It's all practice. I can say it a billion times. Like, the really great thing, and this is one of the things I love. My RStudio is crashing with 5 million data points. Oh my gosh. Congrats on crashing RStudio. I guess you might try to load... What you might try to do is you might try to load part of the data set. Try doing this. Take like 10% of the data set or 5%. And then work with that 5%. It probably is your computer. How good's your? I'm not trying to trash on computer. How good's your computer? Like, depends on your RAM and stuff like that, because you're holding it probably in RAM while you're running this. So if you don't have a ton of RAM, I'm not like, because probably at this point you want to have like 32, 64, maybe 128 RAM. If you're towards like 16 or 8, I don't think a lot of computers have 8 gigs of RAM these days. But your RAM is going to maybe be the point, and then processor, things like that. Microsoft Surface Laptop 3. Yeah, those are pretty good. And then since you're probably, are you working on an Atom processor? Do you also have an Intel Atom processor maybe? Surfaces are pretty good. 256 gigabyte RAM? Ooh, I didn't think you'd be crashing it with that. I take everything back. I mean, that's pro stuff right there. If you 256 RAM, I am shocked you are crashing with that. That's a really good thing. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm looking at specifications on it right now. Shocked that I would be having issues. Here we go. Battery life, graphics. See, they put all the stuff that like people would care about for. Wait, where's the RAM on this? Or where's the processor? Here we go. Quad core, 10th gen, Intel i5. It's pretty good right there. Different surfaces will have a Ryzen. Yeah, so I mean it's pretty good right here. I mean, like it's just tougher when you get smaller and smaller stuff. For 2a and 2b on homework 4, when I use the summary function, it keeps giving the length class. Make sure it turn into a factor. Make sure, Lauren, right there for personal object. Make sure to take whatever you have, wrap it inside of a factor, and that won't give the length class anymore. You probably have a string. So put whatever you have inside of a factor, and then that will do that right there. I'll see, we got a few more questions right here. I'll put on the music. It could be storage. I would have thought it'd be RAM, but Alan's got a pro computer right there. So great job. You've crashed R. That's when you've reached the end game right there. It's when you get the full achievement when you crash R. Is that working for you? I did use factor before the summary. Lauren, are you on Discord? Can you send me your code on Discord? If you can send me it on Discord, send me it on Discord, and then I'll throw it inside of here real quick. Just throw your code on Discord. And, oh, you used it before summary? You want to use it inside the summary. You probably want to take and whatever you have, if you're using it before summary, that'll turn your summary into a factor. We want to do something like this right here, where we store whatever x is, turn it into a factor, and store that into x, and that will overwrite what x is with a factor version of x, and then do summary of x right here. Does that make sense, Lauren? So you want to overwrite x with a factor version of x, and then summarize x. If you do a factor of the summary of x, then you're taking summary output, trying to turn summary output into a factor, which it probably doesn't like. Oh, of course, Alan. Everyone knows. You hop on the stream, you help out. That's, you know, I'm speaking with a donor tomorrow. Shout out to our donors. Thank you so much. And this is I see Kayla's question here. 2 seconds. One of the most important things is what I really like about this donor is they're very focused on student experience. They're like, are the students going through and creating lasting impressions? Because they felt when they went through UT that, you know, they really didn't meet people in their major. They didn't get to know the Calzone. We're throwing 100 points out here. Calzone and Alan, you make my day being here. This is 100 points. I got the macros set up right now. We got to hit twice. It was 50 points. Thank you, Calzone. Always a pleasure to see you here. First Kahoot ever Calzone showing up online. Look at how much things have changed. We're in actual space now. But yeah, so throw those questions in the chat. Let's handle Kayla's question next here. Lauren, I think, might have messaged me on the Discord. Is this Lauren right here? Yes. Is this it? Okay, Lauren, I'm going to try to fix your code. I'm going to send it back to you. Then we'll handle Kayla's question. Okay. I'm working with this question right here. Oh, you didn't store your factor. Here, wait. Lauren, here, I'm going to send you some code back. I want you to tell me if that works. I just sent you some code back, Lauren. Tell me if that works. Great job on this code right here, Lauren. It looks accurate. I'm looking at it. I'm going to send you something else back. I wouldn't write the store int as there. Maybe it's working. I'm going to send you this back also. I'm going to send you one more thing. You got it? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Great job, Lauren. If your code's working, it's working. I'm going to send you one more thing back. I would just change that one line of code you sent me to this. What you have is working. Don't worry about it. Great job, Lauren, right there. Turn on a little more music. Here we go. Same song. New song. Let's head back over. Kayla had a question. Thank you, Kayla, for waiting. Let's head back over. Talking about some app stuff. Here we go with app stuff. Let's do it. 475 app stuff. Number 3, app allows user to input options for the frequency of the data. So we might need to draw some stuff out theoretically right here. This is how Brian would maybe create his app. So what you probably need is an input box, which would, create input $, whatever you're putting right here. And you're going to have an input box on your thing right here, which would say something like frequency. And this is going to be the seasonal frequency. Like, is your data quarterly? Is it monthly? Is it daily? Is it yearly? What kind of data are you dealing with? I know Andrew Wind is just like, Calzone, what happened to Calzone's points? 2 hours later. We got to fix Calzone's points. I know we're having a little bit of fun today. Calzone, I am sorry. I reset the points every so often. Calzone and Andrew are going to be in competition here. I don't know who I'm giving more points. Let me fix this. Calzone, I reset the points. Calzone's been here a long time. Okay, Calzone and Andrew are in competition now. 2 hours later, over. We're back. Okay, let's get serious here. I would have a box right here, Kayla. What does it mean by frequency? The occurrence, is data quarterly. So if someone puts in right here, when you create a time series object, it'd be based on the data set. If you have a way, because think about this, if you read in a vector, you probably, the Johnson & Johnson data is quarterly. So we want to show, and here I'll show you kind of, let's look at the time series function right here. I've got it saved as J&J something. Awesome. Anytime, Andrew. Glad to help out. What is it? Read.csv. I'm trying to think where I have it saved. Jay, what did we call it? Did I call it this? Oh, it doesn't exist. This is just some code to get things going. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, we've got the vector. It's read in, and you see here lowercase x. So let's call this data and data $, lowercase x. Okay, so this is our vector right here of what we're working with. And we need to make sure we read this in now and get it working properly. To get this working properly, we need to deal with a time series function. So if it is data set dependent, why would we want the user to define it? Shouldn't the app take care of that in the server? Well, right now, and the server is going to take care of it. So someone will have an input box, and then the server is going to create this time series object. Does that make sense, Kayla? The server is going to take care of it. I hope this is answering correctly right here for you. So someone's going to put this in right here. This is going to then send down to the server input for the function I'm about to write right here, the time series function, we have the vector of their data. And then when you go down here to the argument frequency, so the argument frequency right here, lowercase f, so much to write. The argument frequency is going to have the input from up there. So it's going to be from the input list, $. Is this making sense here theoretically, Kayla, what I'm talking about? That what I want is for somebody to have the input go down here to reactively create the time series object. So you want, when you, especially working with the Johnson & Johnson, if you input 4, it's going to input that right here. I don't want to, like, this right here is, I would say, a good beginning step to read in the Johnson & Johnson data. That's why I posted the app beginner. But whatever someone puts in right there will go in for the frequency argument for this right here. But if the frequency is determined by the data set, why would we want the user to define it in the input? Well, no, and it is determined by the data set, but the data set probably doesn't have that. Right now, the Johnson & Johnson data set does have it. Does that make sense? The Johnson & Johnson data set does have this. So some data sets already have this attached to it. I think I get what you're saying. Like, why would we want the user messing with this? The issue is one, this is for us. For later on, if we have a vector that is a time series vector, it's probably not already in time series format. When we first get our data, it's probably going to look something closer to this right here. So this data right here that I have is just a vector without any sort of time series format. So the first thing you have to do is take the vector and put it into time series format. Let's just call it vector here for safekeeping, just to make it nice and easier to refer to. This is the Johnson & Johnson data, but it's not a time series right now. If you look at the vector, it's just a vector of numbers. But if you look at the Johnson & Johnson data set, which we want this to become, it's got the time series format to it. It's a time series object. So to take our data that's been read in, which we just kind of saw what the app is seeing in the background, we need to turn it into the time series object. Now, this does turn it into a time series, but it doesn't have the right frequency right now, nor does it have the right start. So to turn this into the time series object, the user would input something like here, frequency. And by inputting frequency 4 into the box right here, we don't have our code up anymore. By inputting 4 right in here, it's going to go into the server and reactively create the time series object. So the time series object right here will then be created, and then we could show someone it back above. You could put a tab showing time series data, which will then show you the time series object. But we just want to make sure the server is actually going to turn this into a time series object here. And now we see we got a little bit better, but we probably need the user to input what? Big hints for the personal assignment right here. We probably also need the user to input what? If someone uploads the data today and the user sets frequency to 12, would it change it? In this instance, no. So someone can make mistakes with their data. And this, remember, this is for us. So we could make a mistake and say, aha, this is monthly data. And now we'll assume it's monthly right here. Or we could say, I collected this every day of the year. And now it's assuming daily data. So we need to make sure we have the right thing, or weekly data. Weekly data. And then you can see it's starting, it's going into year 2 right there. It's just saying year 2, week 1 right here. So the frequency is going to control what kind of data we're working with. It probably got mad at me. Oh, it did do that. I guess I don't know, whatever those are. 3 times a year. But here it just shows it better when it actually says quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. So with this right here, what else are we missing which we would want the user to input? Because it's going to turn this object into this for us. So the goal, it's not going to take a time series format object yet. We're going to have someone just give a vector of data. Because imagine someone gives you a data set and says, I collected these values. We need to put in a start. And it's smart enough to know where to end it. I think you can use end. You can probably put end. But start is going to allow us to put an input right here. I always get a little confused. I think as.date will work. Let's go as.date. Let's go, it's like 1960 or something. Oh my gosh, what it would do. What it would do. I always get this format wrong. I always have to like cheat. Nope. Someone help Brian out. I always get my time series object format wrong on this. So I cannot think it. You're welcome. Even Brian has to cheat and look sometimes. Good thing we got helps and stuff like that. There's start. We got go down here the bottom. Oh, there we go. Start, concatenate vector. Boom. Got it. The quant mod uses a different thing. So right here, 1960. I don't know if this is the actual start, Q1, and there we go. Oh, what? That's, yeah, I've looked at this data a lot. So once again, if you're ever stuck, use the help, and you can see the format for it. It might work. I don't know if it'll work in the parentheses. So we really have two inputs right here. We have an input for the year. It really depends. If it works on one data set, that's fine. But if you can get it to work on all of them, that's even better. But we have like two inputs right here. We might just have like a null. What if I put a null right here? Is it going to get mad? What's it going to do if I do that? Oh, it worked. It just assumed Q1 right there. What if I go null, null? Yeah, I got mad. Just kind of manipulating, seeing what we get with different things. And you can see the different inputs right here. If you have it work with quarterly data or monthly data like this, because I could change this to monthly data by going right here. And yeah, I have someone input, the starting month, the starting year. You could say starting month / quarter, starting day. But we have here the year, and we also have here, because you could go, if this is 365 right here, we could say we start on the 15th day of the year. We don't have enough data for that to go around. Let's start on the 300th day of the year. And 1960, so we should get, yep. If you notice, we went into 1961. Is this making a little more sense how the frequency works right here, Kayla? That 1960 is the year, and then 300 is the starting spot in terms of day. And the reason we're using day right here is because we have frequency 365. But if I change this, what is this code asking me to do right here? Like, think about this code and how this code is working. This code is assuming your data was collected whatly, and then, or you could have a drop-down menu. You could have someone say that's a nice thing too. You could have weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly, and then you could have it choose the values for you, be an input selector. Like, you could choose a click menu and just be like, oh, click this right here. So this is weekly, starting on the second to last week of the year. So you can see the start period of this was the second to last week of the year. The 51st week is where the data collection started. And that's where it increases the ticker here, the counter going forward on the next year. So we had enough to go through 1961 and 1962. This is not how this data was collected, but we're going to allow somebody to have the input options. Whenever I add another tab to my app, the CSV file will not load anymore. Send it to me, Ben. Send it to me. And great job, Ben, starting it early. That gives me more than enough time to look at it. Thank you so much, Ben, for starting early. Alan, good seeing you here. Off the table. Alan, good seeing you. And Calzone, so good seeing you too. Ben, send me that as soon as possible. Like, just hop on an email right now or Discord with the plus icon. The RMD. Sometimes it can be so many different things, and screenshots are really hard to diagnose problems. I'll pull open the RMD. I'll probably hop off office hours. I'm so lost. No! We're just dealing with that. Don't worry, Andrew. Always ask those questions if you got them. Andrew, did you take time series? And what do you remember, and who did you have? And what skills? I just want to know what people's experiences in time series are. Did you take time series, Andrew? I never taken Force. There you go. We're dealing with time series objects. This class of vector next semester with me? Well, then you're hearing the future. You're hearing the future. What do you mean by this? User to change the prediction window forward. That's the H. So you need another box right here. Thank you, Kayla, once again for starting early and asking those questions. Let's throw Mubot. Throw them 50 points. What you doing, Mubot?
I am Mubot.
Talking over me, Mubot? Act like I'm mad at Mubot.
I am Mubot.
Mubot's mad at me. Throw them some 50 points, Mubot, right here. Thank you, Mubot.
I am Mubot.
You're awesome. Okay, let's take a look at that prediction window forward. I don't need just what you mean, but yeah, prediction window forward, which we can show a little bit of it. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. We were looking at some of my code earlier today that I was working on last night to show everybody. When you look at the prediction window forward, you're looking at this H argument right here. The H is the prediction window forward. This is a seasonal naive model right here, which is going to use the past season to predict the future season. So we're just using the J&J window, which is an earlier format of the Johnson & Johnson. I did a window right here. It's my window, J&J window. So this goes up until, what? Oh, I transformed it. Let me use the not transformed values. Sure, I'm posting this code anyways. Okay, so what I'm looking at is a window of time going forward up until, did I not create it? I called it J&J train. Okay, let's J&J train. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Oh, I called it lowercase train. Capitalizations and everything are so important in R. Okay. So this data goes up to 1979. So it would predict 365 days forward. So the H right here is how many periods we are predicting forward. That's what the H stands for right here. So let's look at as we manipulate the H, and we can see this in the auto plot, the manipulation of the H. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to stop talking. And if you notice right here, look at the H and watch what happens as I manipulate H to 1 versus 10 or 100. What is 100 doing? And that's just a cool plot right there. I don't know. If you're going to go crazy, go crazy. Whoa. It's like you can literally hear those predictions. So what is the H doing right here? Which don't do that. That's bad statistics. What is the H doing right here? It's controlling the what of our forecast for our model. So this argument right here, H, which is used in many of the forecast functions or the objects that create forecasts, this creates a forecast object. Should be object forecast. I believe it is. Let's check its class. And that is a forecast object because it has the ability to forecast. So what is the H controlling right here? What is the H controlling? If the frequency is quarters, I would exactly, Kayla, exactly. Great answer right there. 20 points, Kayla. You're exactly right. You would be predicting 100 quarters forward. Now, that's really a bad idea. That's such a bad idea right there. You'd be predicting 100 quarters forward. We really only want to predict, like, at this point, if this is quarterly data, just send it on Discord. Awesome, Jal. I'll check that out here in a moment. And Ben, I'm probably going to grab some lunch. Might have some more ramen today. But does that make sense when we were talking about, like, controlling the prediction window forward, the H, and then you would just have a box that would just change this right here in this function, just make it a reactive function that reactively creates the forecast, and then you can plot the forecast. So then you can just say, like, how many periods forward do you want to predict? You don't even got to call it H. You can just say, predict this many periods forward. And that'd be a good, same right there. Is this making more sense, Kayla? Thank you so much for asking all these questions. I'm sure this is going to help people out to understand what are we looking for right here. We're looking to reactively change this. The theory on how to do this is the exact same as we were just seeing, where we're just going to have a box up here that is just going to control prediction window. But the prediction window is going to send something to the server where we have H, and whatever the input is for this, has a U right there. Whatever the name of this is will go here, and then we'll just have prediction forward, like prediction periods. Is that, yeah, good. I'm glad it's making sense. So then this will send this down to the server, which then the server will reactively make this right here, which then we can throw this into like an auto plot, and then we can show that picture. So I think, do you think you could just get that time series object in first, and then try to like just see that you got that time series object? The number one step, if anyone's watching this right now, the number one step is getting the time series object in. And I can choose the format for input. Yep. Yeah, and then this is just, you know, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's being called on your input, whatever the name is, like input, like predict period or something like that. You know, just a name that might make sense. I don't really like the idea of the user typing in whatever they want. Well, what you should do is you should set a default value then, and then you could do like an if else. You could only allow it. You could round it if you really want. You could look at the frequency of their data and not allow. You could so many reactive things you could do. It just gets pretty. I just got hired for business analytics person at KUB. I just want to play the happiest song ever. Oh my gosh. It's not the happiest song ever. That is amazing. Everyone give shout outs to Ben right there. I'm giving 100 points. Some awesome end to office hours today, Ben. I'll go look at your code here in a second. Ben, that is outrageous. That is, congratulations. Just some rad music right here. Me too, please. I am honored. Just got the call 3 hours ago. And yeah, Ben, congratulations. Just some rock music right now. I think that does it for office hours. Really good practice to everyone. You're welcome. Thank you, Zaid, for being here. Thank you, Ben, for being here. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Andrew. Calzone, Tyrone. Always welcome to be here. We threw some more points. That way you can compete with Andrew, the great Andrew Wynn. Everyone knows Andrew Wind is the best. Mubot, do you know that? You won't know it if I have his sound off.
I am Mubot.
Wait, we can do one better than this. Check it out. Here we go.
Andrew Wind, you are totally the best. This is Mubot. Out. Bye, everybody. Woo! Mubot out. This music's really crazy.
Mubot, what are you still doing here, man?
Johnny Bryan's here too.
Stream over!